It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
So let's talk about now the second thing. Time is more valuable than actually money.
Yeah, I think this one is so interesting. And I think all of us, as we begin to age and as time moves on, this becomes more and more real, more and more apparent to us. But young folks, we forget this, right? We think, oh, I've got all the time in the world. I just wish that I had money. I wish that I had that, not recognizing quite how valuable the time that we have right now truly can be.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Jobs changed so many of our lives. I can't believe we were looking in show prep. 2011 is when Steve Jobs passed away. His life was amazing and how much he accomplished. But this quote really does put an exclamation on this point. It's my favorite things in life don't cost any money. It's really clear that the most precious resource we all have is time. I thought it was, if you saw the tweet from Elon Musk where he said that Tim Cook and him had gotten together and worked through their differences. It was of the pond around the Apple campus. And I remember it being shared that Steve Jobs, one of his favorite things was going on walks.
Around
he made, if you listen to his autobiography, you will see that whenever he had important decisions to make, Steve Jobs would go on a walk. Well, guess what? Walks don't cost anything, but this is actually when he did some of his best thinking. It's something as simple as a walk can be tremendously valuable. And I thought that was really cool how Elon, Tim Cook, had gotten together and were using doing something as simple as taking a walk and figuring things out.
But one of the things that we love to do here is we like to actually show you the numbers because it's easy to try to grasp this academically and theoretically. But we wanted to put together a case study to show you, okay, is it true that time can in fact be so much more valuable than just money? So we said, let's look at a number of different individuals that are going to set out, and their goal is they're going to save $500 a month over a decade. And we're going to have someone who does it in their 20s and then stops, someone who does it in their 30s and then stops, 40s and then stops. And it's really, really interesting when you watch what happens to the numbers when all you change is the timeline through which you're putting those dollars to work. So if you're someone in your 20s and you say, I'm going to start saving $500 a month in my Roth IRA starting in my 20s, and I'm going to stop it when I turn 30, you will have saved $60,000. You will have put $60,000 into your Roth IRA over that 10-year period. Well, if you let that grow, and we're assuming someone in their 20s can earn a rate of return around 10% over the long term, that $60,000 investment would turn into $1.5 million. Certainly, the time in this equation was way more valuable than actually the dollars that you were putting in. So let's change the dynamic a little bit, Brian. Let's wait and say, okay, what happens for someone in the 30s?
I want to draw attention to the fact that you only put $60,000 in. At 65 at retirement, it's worth 1.5. That means $1,460,000 came from the growth. Holy cow. Compounding growth 88 times over really is the magical thing that will make your journey towards wealth building so much easier.
But think about this. What about someone, okay, maybe they couldn't start in their 20s. So they say, okay, for my 30s, for that decade, I'm going to start saving $500 a month every month for that decade, and then I'm going to stop when I get to 40. Well, that person, again, will have saved the same $60,000, but they did not have quite as much time for it to compound. It still turns into $590,000, which is nothing to sneeze at. That's amazing that you have $60,000 that turns into really close to $600,000, but that's different than the $1.5 million that happened for our 20-year-olds.
Wow, we gutted close to $1 million just by 10 years.
So now let's take it even further. Let's look at someone who's in their 40s. Same sort of concept, $500 a month through the decade of your 40s. That's $60,000 turns into $250,000. So you can see the amount of time that you let your money work matters. It is incredibly valuable. So the sooner you can figure this out, the better off you will be. So then what happens if you're someone who doesn't just want to save for a decade? What if you're a true financial mutant? And what if a financial mutant grasps this in their 20s and say, you know what, I'm going to start in my 20s and I'm just going to save $500 a month every month from now until retirement. I'm never going to save more than that. I'm just going to do that. Well, over the course of your working life from age 20 to 65, you will have saved $270,000. But that $270,000 investment will have grown to over $2.5 million by doing nothing more than saving $500 a month.
This is one of those important illustrations. Look, it's also going to create some regret that I wish I'd have started sooner. We see that even with our very successful clients. We all could have done more. We could have done better. But the good news is, look, you don't have to get everything perfect in this wealth building journey. If yesterday was the best time to start investing, guess what? The second best answer is start today. Do not let this discourage you. Let this motivate you to actually do something.